was Marie Waite. She goes by the name of Spanish Marie. When you get a chance, look at SpanishMarie.com. So everybody needs to have, generally, kind of in their industry or something, they need to have their own superhero. This is my superhero. This woman to me was just amazing on so many aspects. So she was born in Spain, was brought to Cuba on an arranged marriage. Ended up in Key West. We're not sure what happened to the first husband. There's a lot of speculation. She didn't get the name that's on top of the bottle for a reason. And so she married Charlie Waite, which was one of the biggest rum runners in Key West. And long story short, she helped him with the business. She had a dance studio, which was basically a front with her rum running business, but taught dance. And her husband was killed by the Coast Guard at the time. She tried to kill the person later. They killed her husband, and she took over the business. And this woman was, just an entrepreneur. She was an amazing person. And to be a woman in the 20s, running rum in what was predominantly considered a man's world, she did not care about. Running a bunch of speedboats, putting a transmission station in Key West so she could create her own language so the Coast Guard couldn't figure out how they were communicating, where they were at. Doing just amazing things, and also fixing her boats, later going on to be the first woman mechanic and owning a business as a mechanic and body shop in Florida. And she was a mom, so she balanced all these type of things and just did this amazing allure of confusing people and running rum and making a very good business and investing in real estate and eventually getting caught and then disappearing but then reappearing. And there's a lot of stories that were told about her. She's 6 foot tall, blonde hair, Mexican, Swedish descent, and all these things. There's books written about her and everything. There's never a picture to be seen. I have at least 50 to 80 pictures of her. I know her granddaughter now because Spanish Marie was married 7 times to other rum runners. Kept going on. They like to say in the distillery that she was responsible for building Florida's first man-made reef, one man at a time.
Wow.
So, she definitely, we give her the term Bad Bitch as the ultimate compliment because this is a person who I look up to and that I don't want to kill anybody. I'm sure she was in situations that were she couldn't control because, being a woman rum runner, she had a lot of aggressive men trying to take over and constantly take her and steal her ships and boats. But, you kind of aspire to be this kind of person who's so entrepreneurial and such an amazing person. So, without a doubt, was the best person to name. And with the red wine barrels, really just to put this together and put her out there. So, check out SpanishMarie.com when you want to have a little read. I have a book coming out on it soon that'll be out by summer.
Very nice. And I actually heard, if I could add a little bit too, I think I read up a little bit about her, and she had a knack for, if I'm correct, which I'm no expert, but from the stories that I've read, she had a knack for when her male counterparts got a little pushy or controlling, she would put them into concrete blocks and throw them into the ocean, which is the I think where the dead men tell no tales comes from.
Yep, and in speaking with her family, I can tell you that at that time, running boats very quickly, especially speedboats and even some of the schooners, concrete takes up a lot of space and is a lot of weight and is not good ballast because you need all the room for the rum. So,
just a myth.
Pretty much kind of, no, I think it was more, you gave her trouble and tried to take it over, she stuck you and shoved you overboard.
Oh, yeah.
That was it,
the old shank. And then the old
expensive. Yeah, you weren't worth it. So.
the old shank and then walk the damn plank, huh? I love it.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, so let's see. So I think one of the last questions before maybe we open it up a little to the audience, for me anyway, is so where can you find your rum? Where can people kind of all over the country, or I don't know if you're in other countries yet, where can they buy? Where can they get this stuff?
Right now, we are in the UK. It's Cigars Unlimited. We're getting ready to release Spanish Marie out to 48 states with Alpha Distributors. So we're going to be having an announcement at the end of the month about that. You can go to legalrum.com and get all the information. We're going to get it out to everybody and make sure everybody's able to enjoy this. Yeah, because we really just have focused on our retail and perfecting our craft, and now we're really just starting to push it out into the wholesale market. Did you try it with the ice?
I did. I put ice in. I had quite a few sips, and then I actually might have jumped the gun. I add a few splashes of the ginger beer, which I have, which the best one that I could find from my.
Tree.
What's that?
Did you use the Fever Tree?
No, unfortunately, the only one that I could find that I knew was halfway decent was San Pellegrino puts out a very good ginger beer.
Oh, cool.
So I grabbed a few.
Yeah, we like to call and it's a great mix. It's you put your rum in the glass, put the ice cube in, and then slowly pour some ginger beer over it until you see the bubbles all the way around the glass stop, and then a squeeze of lime. Don't put the lime in there. The rind of the lime is very bitter and can cause a funny aftertaste, especially with the grape tannins in there.
Absolutely.
Not a great mix on that, and we call it a stormy bitch. There's a lot of copyrights out there, so we don't we don't put that out there publicly. Obviously, other companies have their trademarks, which is awesome, and we don't want to infringe on that. But for us, that's our stormy bitch, and it's really refreshing to be able to drink it like that. We happen to be in one of the third Coca-Cola buildings. 1903 is when Coca-Cola opened up in Key West, and that's where my distillery is located. So we also like to have a bitch and Coke. And,
I love it.
And a lot of the people like it. We had a drink we were going to put out into a bottle that was called Bitch and Ale. It was basically, more of a ginger ale, but like more of a natural homemade ginger ale, not very sweet.
Oh, okay.
The tart in that is really, really nice when you're drinking these type of drinks.
Absolutely.
So, I'm glad you're enjoying it and having an experience up there with all the license on your roof.
Yeah, well, the funny story, when you were talking, I actually opened the door, went out, and just put my hand with the snow into the glass, and then I poured the rum, so.
There you go.
No, this is...
That's local.
That's sourcing local, and you can only do that today in New England right now. Tomorrow, it'll all be gone. All right, so, well, let's see. Anybody from the audience, would you like to come up and ask a couple questions? I think we have enough time to maybe have 1, 2, maybe 3 if they're quick. If you do, raise your hands, come on up, introduce yourself, ask a quick question, and allow me to keep sipping on this a little bit longer.
Hey, Paul, first of all, really enjoyed listening about the chemistry and all the sort of nature that's taking place around your product and how you're building it. We really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And you mentioned that there was not a lot of local rum or anything like that. But what really was your inspiration in trying to make this and making it in this particular way?
I would say because my background is a chef and being in an area where the tourism is so heavy and everybody, I live in a drinking town with a tourist problem. So to have a place that doesn't make any alcohol really kind of blew me away, and I wanted to do something different after being in the restaurant industry for so long and having restaurants, and I couldn't believe that I first to do something like this. It was a big risk. It was very nerve-wracking because it's a big leap of faith going out of what you're comfortable in. But I'm glad I did it, and putting the chef's part into it, I think, is what made it a unique experience with all the chemistry that we use as chefs and as distillers.
Thank you, Derek. I have
Here,
two
here.
more questions, but they are very short. Is that okay?
Yes, please go ahead.
I'm going to make them real short. First one, Paul. This could be a yes or no. Do you have exclusivity in the UK with this place or no?
Right now, they've done one big order, and so we're looking to branch out in Europe. I go back and forth in there quite frequently. I actually do small production of champagne in outside of Epernay, in a town called Galan. I'll have my first batch of that. That's actually fermented in my old rum barrels for the first 30 days, but that's a different story for a different time.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk to Derek about that when it's coming true.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, if there's ever a discussion you want to have, please contact me. You can DM me off my profile.
Well, I hit you a follow, so I can follow through with that. And last, this rum and coke has a bad rap. Can you just please talk about that with some authority?
Well,
Sure.
actually, before Paul, before you
Sure.
you interject on that, so I've been a big rum and coke or Pepsi and rum drinker for quite a number of years. I never really thought to do a ginger beer in rum, but this is one of my first major times doing the mix, and let me tell you something. It's definitely, I think it's taken the top spot. I'm really liking the ginger and rum. Yeah, I think one of the keys is find a good ginger beer out there that works really well for you, and then if you put the two together, it's beautiful. Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
No, and the ginger beer should be look for something that's spicy.
Yes.
Because ginger is spicy. It's actually very good for you. The sugar downplays it a lot. Being in the old Coca-Cola building, I can tell you that rum and coke has a long and sordid history. It was really the GIs from in the war going over and sipping some bad rum. So that's where that part came from, and they would add their Coca-Cola to it, and it would make it more tolerable. These days, I've had a lot of different things. Now, I'm very particular with Coca-Cola to Mexican Coke. I enjoy the sugarcane part of that. I'm not a big fan of the corn syrup. It makes me feel jittery. And when done right, when there's more rum than there is Coke, and that's why I'm always telling people, put some rum into a glass, take a little bit of a sip, add an ice cube to it, take another little sip, and then add your mix of, when you're just doing a simple mix like this or with the ginger beer and everything, and find that right balance, because everything, the cola nut actually does bring some nice flavor to the rum and the mix, and those alkaloids in there that mix can create something really great. If you're just trying to kill the flavor of something because it's horrible, maybe switch rums. It's Coke. Don't blame it on the Coke. Blame it on the rum.
That's such a good point, right? That's such a good point. But I think that the caramel backdrop that both tend to have, particularly the darker rums, I think they're sort of somewhat married, at least in my mind. Thank you.
Yeah, they're definitely symbiotic.
All right, we have Rebecca, Clay, Shannon, and Renee on stage. Who would like to ask another question?
Hey Paul, it's Rebecca.
Hey, Rebecca.
I'm really enjoyed your presentation tonight. Amazing. I can hardly wait to try it. So I'm going to find it and get it. And what I'm wondering is, are you doing online sales like across the country right now?
Rebecca, thank you. I was actually gonna dig a little deeper into asking him if he does exclusive, like if anybody from around the country can simply go online and put an order in and have a bottle sent to them.
Correct. We will have that all set up at the end of the month. Our distributor, and we have a national retailer that's going to be able to fulfill those orders for everybody. So if you follow us on Insta or go to Key West Legal Rum, we'll be able to tell you where to get it and how to get it sent to you, so you can enjoy it and hopefully do some more things like this with Derek and other people, and do some tastings with some groups.
Thank you, Rebecca.
My work table right now has some gins and some whiskeys and a few other things from other distilleries, and I've been playing around wonderfully. So.
All right. Anybody with another question? I think we have time for maybe one or two quick more.
Hi, Paul. It's Renee. So
Hey, Renee.
I'm seeing a trend here in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, where I'm starting to see cocktails on tap, and one of them has been a rum punch. And what are your thoughts of taking a cocktail like that and pouring it on tap?
So I I've only had a few of these. I really like. So I'll give you an example. I really enjoy the Bad Bitch made as a rum runner. Okay, which is a really obviously for us down here a really standard drink. If a rum runner's done right, it's really good. It's the point of basing these cocktails up, and then when they're on tap, there's a lot of changes going on. I feel like there's some of the stabilization of it, um, some of the fermentation of it that occurs, and not in a bad way, Renee. I'm not saying it's in a bad way. It definitely starts changing the profile of it, and I think as long as people are aware that it becomes like a wine. You're getting something different every time.
Right.
I think there's a future for it. Depending on there's much smarter people out there than me that will dial this in correctly. There's a lot of stuff in cans. Okay, and the only reason I'm going there is
Right.
I don't like the taste in cans. I think alcohols have a very strong mix, and it represents some of those flavors. And I don't like that. I like glass, or I need something that's stainless to be able to, to make this
I
happen.
agree with
And
you.
that's a personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Last question, real quick. Okay, Demerara sugar or pressed sugar cane in a mojito with your rum?
Demerara sugar. We actually do. We just got done today. We do on the weekends, Fridays and Saturdays. We do mojito classes where we teach people how to make mojitos because that's the recipe and the way we were taught in Cuba. We use our Demerara, but the thing is with the Demerara, with that mineral base, you need to use less than you would the other because I like the mineral base, but I mean, both of them have their. It's really a taste preference, but I really like that kind of that little caramel smoky taste that it gives to it, especially the reaction it has with the mint when it's crunching and being muddled the right way with the mint.
Absolutely. All right. Anybody else who has a question really quick?
Derek, I'm going to raise my hand really quickly. Paul, as a
Absolutely.
chef, you and I had a conversation in a different room about using about chocolate. How would you perceive the right kind of chocolate to go with some of your rums, or have you given much thought to that?
I've done pairings, and I like to use chocolate as a reference when having people try my rums. But as me and you discussed, and people don't know Clay, I'm not a big fan on only with the sweet and the chocolate. The cacao and the dark and the rich smoky textures to it, and that deep bitter really blend well with different rums. They really bring out something in the rum from, because people eat a piece of really pure cacao, or maybe it's something that's at 80 or 75 or 80%, be like, well, this piece of chocolate's a little bit bitter. Then they mix together with some rum, and it's, wow, it's opened up in my mouth. Wow, I'm getting this flavor now. It complements the rum. So I'm really all about using more of the pure forms of chocolate to enhance flavors of rum.
Yeah, I feel even though rum has a tendency to be fairly sweet, you don't overpower it with sweet chocolate. And one of the things that was also interesting is that the cocoa fat melts, and it is the melting of the fat that releases the aromas and the flavors in the chocolate. But also, alcohol is a different solvent, and so it's going to bring out a whole different set of flavor chemicals. And so you talked about the alkalinity and other things that are in some of your rums, as well as the minerality of the demerara sugar. All of that is going to play with the complexity of the sugar, and so
Well, thank you, Clay, for coming up. That was a great question. I think we have time for one more quick question.
I had a curious question, and maybe you talked about it in the beginning regarding your sourcing of barrels, but I am always intrigued by how things are connected, relationships, and how I feel like the demand for barrels is high. So I was just curious as to what your connection was to Bordeaux for these particular barrels.
Because I spend time in France, and actually my connection is in Epernay, France. The, the barrel maker for all the champagne brands is my guy who can really give me my connections, because a lot of these barrels are in the Bourguignon region and everything. So I'll bring them over in a container. There is specific places that are doing that. There's Northeast Barrels is doing it. But it's nice to be able to go and find really specific barrels that had a certain saturation. But also, I like to know the barrel maker, because it's really important to me who the barrel maker is. Because there's certain things that they'll do. One thing I learned when we had trees that we were making some barrels of champagne that I'm using, and the tree had pretty much was at the end of its life. The guy said, I'm continuing their life. And the tree is 180 years old that my barrel's made out of. And I believe there needs to be a lot more talk about the age of barrels and the complexity of the flavors in them, because of the age of the wood, versus some barrels, the woods that are only 60 or 70 years old. There's a huge difference. So I think that's a great question, and sourcing them from Europe is the way to go. And if you ever need any help with that, please DM me.
Oh, so I just took a nice sexy sip of the Glencairn rum that I set aside. I hope it was. I hope to you it had enough time to kind of open up and do what it wanted to. It's definitely different from the just pouring it into the rocks glass.
Yeah, I think what happens is, we all, especially if we've had a big day, something to celebrate, or had a long day, or whatever the situation, we pour some, and I'm of the theory I like to bring two glasses to the table and pour
Absolutely.
one for later. And that's my
Absolutely.
celebratory one, because there's enough things with rums that go on, and they open up and everything. And I've seen down in the audience, Jamie's down in the audience, and I know, people like us that are only 10 years into the game, we're discovering a lot of other ways to drink and sip and find the curiosities of rum, because we're newer. So I think we're experimenting a little bit more than some of the traditional things, and I think that's important, because we are treating it like a beverage that can change its complexity just by letting some air into it and letting it sit out. So it's sometimes patience isn't always easy. So that's why I say bring two glasses to the table.
Absolutely. Well, I would like to thank you very much for being on. Hopefully, and obviously, we have at the very least one more bottle to go through and interview, and people can come out and ask more questions. But thank you very much for being on. It was a great experience. Look forward to doing it again, sir.
Yeah, it was my pleasure, and I just want to thank you for taking small craft places like myself, like you did with Jamie and other ones you're doing. You're a big help to getting people out there to understand us and understand what makes our product special to our area. And you'll find out there's a lot of synergy between all of us, and by having all these recordings up, it's going to be really interesting to listen to everybody's different takes. A lot of education is going to be learned from what you're doing. So
Absolutely.
thank you very much, Derek. And I'm glad that you didn't get any bigger, and your connection stayed really solid.
Yes, through the little weird freak ice storm that we're having here in New England right now. But Yeah, thank you again for being on, and thanks for watching me hang with some of the coolest people on the planet, the ones that help start the party. Thank you guys, and join for the next video that we have with Paul Menta.
Thanks all. Appreciate you all coming.